Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury Interviews. Today we have a local celebrity, frontman of one of Sudbury's big headliner bands, the Brotherz Showband and Revue, with a long record of promoting and organizing events, concerts, and festivals in Sudbury. Theriault is with us today. Hey, Vic, how you doing?
Hey, Dan, I'm doing great. How are you?
Oh man, I couldn't be better. Happy to have
Good
you
stuff.
with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you.
So, what have you been up to?
Well, lately I've been concentrating on my own band, which of course is the Blues Brothers Showband and Revue, as you mentioned. And we're getting busy. We're getting to the point where we're gathering up festivals and events for the coming season. We usually start playing in April, run till October. So pretty busy booking that up. I'd like to take the winter off because we've all got driveways to shovel.
Is that what you were just
As a matter
doing?
of fact, I was just doing that. Yeah, and it's almost 1 o'clock. I've got to talk to Dan, so here we are. Yeah, so that's basically what I've been up to. Uh,
Nice.
it's a lot of fun to do. It's a big band, a lot of mouths to feed, of course. So we have to be selective with the kind of shows that we take on, and we still maintain the charity portion of our show. We do at least 4 or 5 shows a year for good causes, well-known charity causes. So that keeps us happy and helps the community.
Nice. So, what I'd like to do, Vic, is talk a little bit about your start with music way back, and how did you get pulled into music?
Wow, my humble beginnings. Well, as you know, I'm a veteran musician still on the scene, and I think I was like 13 or 14 years old when the Beatles appeared on Ed Sullivan, and just like all of my peers, I guess the next week we were all down at prom music or melody music, buying guitars, taking lessons, hoping that we could start a band and be as famous as the Beatles. So that's what I did. I learned how to play guitar. I became a lead guitar player in my first band. Actually, our bass player was a guitar player as well and couldn't afford to buy a bass, so played bass on a 6 string. So I had a succession of bands in the mid to late 60s. Really only got serious about it in about 1968 and put together some pretty good little 4-piece bar bands. I became a vocalist at that point, and I played with some bands like Special Edition, Mac Jones, 4AM, Peter Doe's Revue band.
Wow.
And about 25 years ago, I formed the Blues Brothers. Now, when I did get started, everyone was practicing in their basements, in their parents' basements, and I couldn't do that because it was 1968, and all of my cousins, these 5 or 6 of them, had come up from New Brunswick and were living in my parents' finished basement and working at Inco of all places because they were hiring guys from all over Canada. There was a real boom. So my dad was a janitor in a church that was situated right behind my house. So he finagled a deal with the priest, the parish priest, that every Saturday we'd go into the hall and practice our rock and roll tunes, but we had to pay rent.
Hmm.
So the rent was basically a pound of flesh. What we had to do was make ourselves available on Sunday mornings to play in church, to play church songs.
Nice.
Yeah. So I did that for 2 years so that we could keep our rehearsal space. So it was good. It was a lot of fun.
What?
And that's how I got my start.
So it hooked you. It hooked you real good. No going back.
Oh, yeah. At
What?
least we were playing.
What was it like in the '60s Sudbury music scene? What's going on there?
Oh, man. There were so many good bands, and there were so many places to play. And there was different strata of venues. A lot of the local bars hired local country bands, because country was really big in the 60s. And some of the some of the, I guess, classier bars are hiring acts from Toronto, road bands, who would play for 6 days and be off on
Wow.
Sunday and travel to the next gig. That's when everyone was playing 6 days a week.
Wow.
With local bands, local young guys, high school bands, were playing at high school dances and playing in church basements. That was a big thing. Church basements are open to dances, and they were making money for the church, making money for their communities, and those of us who were lucky enough would latch on with booking agents that were here in town, and they would send us up north to play places like Timmins, Cochrane, Smooth Rock Falls, Kirkland Lake, Ville Marie, Quebec. On and on it went. So, a lot of guys got some good road experience, although some of it was just on the weekends, but weekends were where it was at.
Wow.
So Sudbury was a busy place. It was a busy place in the 60s and 70s.
So there was no shortage of gigs there. Wow.
No shortage of gigs. The money was, for the time, the money was good.
Yeah.
And the variety of music was interesting, too. The only source of music that we had was radios, basically, and albums that we would buy. So we would learn commercial hits, deep cuts. People would do some originals, go out and play them, see if anything stuck. And radio was just so big. So there were country stations in Sudbury and top 40 stations. So I was basically the kind of music that was being played on that level. But then there was a whole strata of what we called Stag and Doe, Wiener Packer bands. There were Finnish groups that were out playing with accordions and pianos, and polka bands, big bands. There was a real big assortment. A lot of work, a lot of musicians. And back then there was also a musicians union in Sudbury that kind of kept an eye on how much bars were paying. And if some bars weren't paying what the musicians should be getting, which was at least scale, the musicians union had the power to blacklist the bar.
Wow.
Well, it didn't really work because, sure, they were hiring union musicians, but as soon as they hit the blacklist, they just hired non-union musicians, and the bars are still full. So, unfortunate, but that's the way it goes.
Was that like just a Sudbury thing, or was it more like Ontario or Canada?
That was actually throughout North America, because we belong to the American Federation of Musicians, and we were represented locally by I think it was Local 270, I think that was it. Before that, we could join the Toronto Musicians Union, and that was kind of hard because they certainly couldn't police Sudbury, so you're just paying for a card, basically. And but it was a way to become labeled as a professional musician, whether you were or not. If you belonged in the union, you were considered a professional. So there were a lot of professionals running around Sudbury.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I remember hearing about it when I first started playing too, but it sort of just disappeared, or is it still there?
It's actually disappeared. I think there might be a musicians association. I don't know anyone who belongs to it, and I don't know who runs it, but it's not the same. It's not affiliated with the American Federation of Musicians with headquarters in New York City. The one good thing about belonging to the union was that back in those days, from 1967 on to the time it was torn down, we had the amphitheater, the concrete amphitheater at Bell Park. And local bands got to play there many, many times during the week, on weekends, during holidays, Sunday evenings. And the musicians union would pay the musicians to play. And the way that happened was that there was a pool of money that the Musicians Federation from New York had at their disposal, because all the musicians who belonged in North America would pay their dues every year. And a portion of those dues would come out and sponsor public concerts in any town in North America where the Federation was represented. So that was a lot of money to spread around. It wasn't a big payout, but it was good enough to get some publicity and entertain the population. So actually, you might have heard of something called CKSO Welcome Summer that was put on by CKSO back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And that was a real big event down at Bell Park. And because I was on the board of directors at the Musicians Union, I had the great fortune of being able to act as the booking agent for that event. So I got to book sometimes up to 10 bands per weekend for about 10 years. I worked with them for 10 years. And there was a lot of promotion on the radio for the bands and for the event. And the musicians got paid by the Musicians Union. So it was a good deal all around. And just a little anecdote about those days, just to show you how amateurish festivals might have been back then.
Well, that sounds...
The amphitheater could hold at least 2,000 people, but the crowd swelled to sometimes 4,000, 5,000 people spilling over onto the grounds. There was no beer license, and the only concession was that I believe it was the Kinsman Club, was selling slices of Cortina pizza, serving 4,000 people. And that was it. That was the concession stands. And Pepsi selling, or Coke selling Coca-Cola products. Free admission.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a good time.
That
sounds... Good time to grow up.
Sounds brilliant to me.
Yeah, it was a good time to grow up in music in Sudbury. Made a lot of friends, saw a lot of bands. We all had a really good time, and a lot of people from those days, they're still around, they're still above ground, and a lot of them are still playing in bands, which is excellent.
So tell us, how did the Bluez Brothers Showband and Revue start, and where'd you get the idea to do this? Because it's such a big thing.
Oh.
Like, you guys headline shows, and it's amazing.
Yeah, what's amazing about it is that we managed to be able to keep it together with different personnel, of course. We've changed over quite often, as any big band will. But same as a lot of people, I had seen the original skit on Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live was in its infancy. And then, of course, saw the movie that came out in 1980. And it wasn't until about 10 years later when tribute bands were starting to come on screen. I remember there weren't many. There were some Beatles tribute bands, maybe some Aerosmith tribute bands, a couple of AC/DC tribute bands. And I said, I like playing harp, I like the blues, and I really like that Bluez Brothers movie. And I contacted some musicians here in Sudbury, and we put together, I believe it was a 6-piece version of the band where the keyboard player was doing all the horn shots on keyboard. And I think our first gig was at Blues for Food, probably 25 years ago, maybe even 30 years ago. So it just blossomed from there. We eventually, after about 5 or 6 years, added a real horn section, a 3-piece horn section. And to this day, we carry on with a horn section that we contract. And we scale the band in size to whatever the venue or the event requires. But for about 25 years, we were running as a full 10-piece Bluez Brothers tribute. And it's been a lot of fun, and it goes over really well. And it's not music that a lot of people know, but people are familiar with rock and roll and soul beats and R&B. Once we get them on the dance floor, man, we got them hooked. They're dancing all night. It's just a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. If you put, 10 people on a stage is a pretty powerful, band.
Yeah, just the visual alone creates quite an impact. And it's really good to see that other people are taking that bull by the horns and saying, we can put a 10-piece band together as well. So Paul Lowenberg and his North Memphis Revue are a 10, sometimes 11-piece band. And it's going over really well for both of us, because how often do you get to hear horn bands in Sudbury? In fact, in Northern Ontario, there aren't many around. There's, my son is a hurricane from down south, and there might be two or three other Blues Brothers tributes left in all of Ontario. So it's a rare treat sometimes for a lot of people. And, some people consider it classy. We consider it, blue collar, but blue collar with a touch of horns. That's what we call it.
I think it's classy.
Yeah, great. Well, I like wearing a black suit and tie, so there you go.
Nice. So I've seen also that you're working on Dwayne Trudeau Concert Part 3, the third year of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting and fun event. And the way that came about, it's not a long story, but it goes back. Back about 23 years ago, when 100 Georges was still in existence in Sudbury, a bar that used to be at the corner of Cedar Street and Durham Street, that had opened up in the old TD Bank. It was run by two entrepreneurs from North Bay. And they started out wanting to feature pretty much nothing but blues bands, and then eventually they were bringing in acts like Kim Mitchell, Jeff Healy played there. There were some really good jam sessions, open mics. And, the way the open mic turned out, I suggested to the owners that maybe we could have one on Wednesday nights. And they said, sure, bring it on. So we did. And I guess it was the second night of operation. It was winter time, and my partner, Frank Beausoleil, and myself were watching guitar player after guitar player get up on stage, do a great job, entertain the crowds. And this long-haired young kid walks in with a guitar, and I think it was in a guitar case or a garbage bag or something. He walks in and, and he says, hey, man, he says, can anybody get up on stage and play? And I said, what, you never been here before? He says, no, man, first time. I'd love to get up and play. And it turns out his name was Dwayne Trudeau. So he got up on stage. I didn't know what to expect. I'd never heard him. I've never heard of him. So he warms up his guitar a little bit. And then he starts playing. I think he was playing a 12-string at the time, but I know that he was playing slide. He was playing in different open tunings and just blowing everybody away, playing traditional Delta blues stuff that went back to the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And he just kept playing one song after the other. Never said a word, just kept playing. Finished up, put his coat on, packed his guitar. Out the door he went. And then I never saw him again for years. And then I started seeing him on the street busking. And one day, he gives me a call. And he says, hey, man, he says, I'm playing at Little Montreal, just jamming out on some blues. You want to come out and play harp with me? So I went out, and we just connected like two brothers. Whatever he was playing, I could play along with him. He let me do some lead breaks. He'd do a lot of lead breaks. It was excellent. And then we ended up playing at, where was it now? Peddler's Pub. Played at Peddler's Pub. That went over really well. It was another open mic night. No, actually, this one was a gig. He had booked a gig on his own. Then we booked him to play at Blues because I was involved in doing some of the booking of the acts. And I was going to play with Dwayne. And then we recruited Paul Owenberg to play stand-up bass, and recruited Tommy Fife to play drums, of all things.
Wow!
So
really?
we did a Blues for Food gig with him, but he had played Blues for Food before with Sulphur City, and so a couple of years after we played with Dwayne at Blues for Food, Paul and I and Tommy. Unfortunately, Dwayne passed away. Now, a lot of people had heard him. A lot of people had befriended him. And he was playing quite regularly. He was at the Fruit Hotel almost every week, playing on Thursday nights. Paul was booking him in at the Townhouse. He was playing at Little Montreal. And so I had this thought of paying tribute to him after he had passed away. And I approached the owner of Little Montreal, and she told me that Ryland Stoller, a local drummer and comedian and great musician, had proposed the same sort of ideas. We should do something for Dwayne in his honor. And I said, well, why don't we get our three heads together and put something together? So that's what we did. We met at a table at Little Montreal, and we hashed it out, and we had the first annual event. Went over really well. We did it the second year, and it went almost as well, except that, Sudbury's like, people like to go to hockey games and basketball games, and it ties up all the parking in town, so people who drive by Little Montreal couldn't find a place to park and went home. And we were doing the show in December, so people don't like to walk too far away. But then when the third year came along, everybody got really busy. Crazy things are happening. Health issues are happening. So we postponed the show, and instead of calling it the third annual, we're calling it the third event for Dwayne. And as you so well put it in your message to me, Trudeau 3, which I think we might just use with your permission from now on. We'll just change that digit.
I love it.
So thank you so much. The thing is well attended, and we have some great musicians performing, and they all play by donating their time, so that the funds that we do collect can go directly to the soup kitchen up the street, because a lot of people in dire straits in our town, and it's good to funnel that kind of money towards those charity houses and charity events. So that's what we're up to with that. So that's how it came about, and we have Dwayne's family solidly behind it. They support it, they promote it, and we have a great cross-section of people. A lot of blues fans have been hungering for the blues, because as it stands, there are no blues venues in Sudbury, and this is a rare event to hear the cream of the crop performing at the event. So that's how it came about.
Wow. I knew Dwayne as well, and I can confirm that he was absolutely extremely talented on the slide guitar, especially.
Yeah, and that's for sure. And that Thunderbird that he played too, right?
Yeah,
a Thunderbird. Yeah, the one that looked like Johnny Winter's guitar.
So, do you have a date for this?
Yeah, it's happening on February 15th, and the reason that date was chosen was, well, for one thing, we didn't want to wait too long. We didn't want to go too far into the spring. We wanted to do it in February because everyone knows it's a blah month. No one wants to get out. People do want to get out, but they want to have something to go to. So this is a great go-to, and it's on the family holiday, the 15th, Family Day. It's on that weekend. So some people who don't have kids, or kids have grown up, or the kids are going to grandmas and grandpas, can show up at this event. But one of the main reasons we picked that date was because it's the day after Valentine's Day. So we just want to keep spreading the love on the extra day, on the 15th, do a spillover of all that extra love that people have to put out. And a good way to show your love is to show your love to Dwayne by attending the event, by paying the admission charge, which is, $10, and knowing that money, the 100% of the proceeds are going to the soup kitchen. So get rid of the winter blahs, have a good time with people you haven't seen for a little over a year, and celebrate the memory of Dwayne in a happy fashion. Because a lot of people think that blues is sad stuff. Yeah, it is sad sometimes, but it's really uplifting music. It can get you out of the doldrums, get you out of your own blues, and sometimes make you just meditate and contemplate the blues that you do have and try to rise above. And Dwayne was a rise above guy. He had his issues like we all do. Some a little more acute, but he always tried. The guy worked when work was available. He played. He contributed. And what more can you ask for? So that's worth celebrating.
Yeah, wow. On behalf of all of us, thank you for doing this, your team and you. And
yeah, the team, it's so important to work with other people. It might be behind the scenes, but you got guys supplying equipment, you've got guys supplying sound systems, you've got people putting the word out, people hustling other people to come out. It's just a fantastic thing, and we hope that we can carry it on for as long as possible, and pass the baton to other younger folks and carry it on and have it turn into an annual summer event. That is what we are really aiming for, a big celebration. And because the small event, there's nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong. It's just that we are creating an awareness of the blues, creating an awareness of who Dwayne Trudeau was, and hoping that we can celebrate it on a larger scale. And that would be fun.
You know what, Vic? You're a tremendous leader for this community. I've always known that about you.
Oh, well, thank you, man.
I have one question left. We've got 4 minutes. 4 minutes. This is the daily segment. It's a silly little word that I invented, but it's the same question to every guest, same words and everything. Great. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
What is one thing that you feel would make Sudbury greater?
What would make Sudbury greater? The old booking agent and promoter in me is saying more venues for musicians to play at, because we need people to take a chance, hire more original musicians, hire more bands, if you can, create a buzz, do the work, promote what's coming in, and showcase and show off what we have here in Sudbury.
Yeah, I love that. You're the man, Vic.
Promote. Well, if I can rub off on other people, I'm getting long in the tooth. But if other people can take up the mantle and push it forward, like a grassroots bunch of people created Summerfest, and that thing lasted for 12 years, and it was probably the biggest event that ever happened in Sudbury over the 12-year period. Booked a lot of local acts, and I had the pleasure of being the booking agent for that festival. It was just great times. I've had great times in Sudbury.
Yeah, well, hey, I remember that one. That was huge. That was a good one. That was my favorite festival, actually. Summerfest was always my favorite.
Yeah. It's quite the variety show, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I just want to mention before we end this that the first time I saw you playing the harmonica in Hanmer at the old Hanmer Tavern, you blew my top off, man. Like, you made me want to learn how to play the harmonica.
Oh, man.
So,
well, that's great. I'm glad that happened. And, not bragging, never brag, but a lot of young cats have come along and asked me if I could help them learn how to play. And I have. And just seeing guys taking it up and seeing new blues bands coming up, I can't take all the credit for it, but I'm sure I'm happy that I could lead by example, So,
well, I want to thank. Yeah, for sure, dude. Like, absolutely. I want to thank you for your time today, man. Like, I really appreciate you taking a minute. I know you're busy to come on behalf of all of the community for everything you do and your leadership with these initiatives too. So thank you, Vic.
Well, thank you, Danny, and thank you for what you do. And I'll never forget, and I always appreciate jamming with you at a bar at Hanmer. So thanks for that.
Right on, brother. Take care.
Okay, man.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye now.